What's up? Hey, James Jesso here, Adventures of the Mind. Just waking up. Just finished having my breakfast. You just saw me take some nootropics. Particularly, I took omega-3 fish oil, and I took a stack called Logic from a company called Formula, which is generally what I've been working with recently. And I figured I would take this opportunity between taking my nootropics and it kicking in to try to shoot a video and make some sort of intelligent sense about nootropics in general and why I use them. Okay, so coffee, I don't know if that counts as a nootropic, but I love it. Anyway, so let's begin. First off, nootropic is a word that comes from two Greek words, nous and trepin. Nous meaning mind and trepin meaning to blend, so to blend the mind. And the term was coined, and the first initial research was done by a man named Dr. Cornelius E. Gurugia, don't know how to say his last name, and he suggested that there were 6 categories that would qualify something as being a nootropic. Those 6 categories are enhancement of memory and learning, improved cognition under stress, protection of brain cells, facilitation of cell-to-cell communication, backed by human research demonstrating brain bioactivity, absence of usual pharmacological effects of psychotropic drugs. So, with that said, there's not a lot of nootropics out there. There really isn't. But recently, the term has come to mean anything that would be considered a cognitive enhancer or a smart drug, which includes, at this point, a lot of things. And I've tried a lot of things. In fact, I'm going to give you a list in a few minutes. And I've tried these things because for one reason, I have ADHD. And so my impulse control is sort of limited, and I'm sorry about these birds, I don't know if you can hear them. My impulse control is sort of limited, and because of that, I have this tendency to not start things of depth, and instead impulse myself towards quick releases of dopamine. For example, video games is a great example of a great quick release of dopamine, but also things like social media, my phone, random other puttery things around. And then I also have a hard time finishing things. So it's hard for me to start stuff. And additionally, when I try to engage something when I'm not, if I try to engage something and my brain is in an ADHD type state, the harder I try, the harder it gets. It's not like I just need to push through and it'll work out for me. It's like my brain shuts down the harder I try. So I use nootropics to try to circumvent that because I just don't want to rely on pharmaceutical stimulants my entire life, which is the immediate go-to in medical science for my neural disposition. Another reason is because, at least when I started, man, I was gung-ho, hustle hard, make that money, basically, but like make success, bring forth into this world the things that I feel are my purpose in this world. And I saw these compounds as things that could help facilitate that for me or help me facilitate that for myself in a way that would be more effective and more impactful. We live in an incredibly complex world that demands a lot of our brain activity. It's a very different time than the rest of history, and different times call for different measures. So nootropics were something I wanted to get into. Also, when I started doing them, I was and still am very into psychedelics. So anything that brings up, anything that's curious about psychopharmacology or neurology, that just interests the hell out of me. So it all sort of like fit together to be like, hey, this seems like a great idea. I should start exploring them. Another thing is to amplify my creativity, my fluency, my word recall, my ability to have divergent and convergent thinking, my ability to hold things in mind for a period of time and take them apart, put them together, move them around, working memory, attention control, affect control. These are all things that I was hoping to optimize with my use of nootropics, and, well, I'm using that, of course, in the lighter, modern use of the word, but cognitive enhancers in every way. And some of them offered me that, some of them didn't. Some of them gave me some stuff and not other stuff. Some of them gave me everything I could have wanted all day long, but then the consequence was that my social life was dismantled, or I was kind of an asshole if anyone got in my fucking way, from getting my work done, or I would just be completely obliterated the next day. Like Tim Ferriss says, there's no free lunch, and I definitely found some where the price I had to pay was too great for the benefit that it offered, and also that the cost that I had to pay was too high for a lack of effect, because some of them just didn't really work very well. Now, near the end, I'm going to tell you what I've been doing and what has been working the absolute best for me. But first, let me give you a list of the nootropics that I've tried, which include herbs, nutraceuticals, amino acids, research chemicals, pharmaceutical stimulants. And I'm just going to go for it here. So, coffee, obviously. So we got coffee, yerba mate, guayusa, bacopa, rosemary, schizandra, ginkgo, vinpocetine, coca, cacao, rhodiola, lion's mane, ginseng, hyperzin A, omega-3, forskolin and artichoke extract, pycnogenol, phosphatidylserine, bio-PQQ, L-theanine, acetyl L-carnitine, L-tyrosine, creatine, CoQ10, caprylic acid, so C8, 4-methylmethylphenidate, phenetrazine, citicoline, phenibut, piracetam, oxiracetam, aniracetam, Noopept, modafinil, nicotine in the form of gum, lozenges, vapor, and just straight up tobacco, Adderall, dextroamphetamine, methamphetamine, I didn't use that as a nootropic, but methylphenidate, Vyvanse, R-modafinil, and stacks I've tried are Siltep, Luminosity, Nexus, Alpha Brain, Mitogen, caffeine/L-theanine, and the Paul Stamets protocol. And I've also experimented with microdosing psilocybin, LSD, and cannabis in different ways. I've also experimented with macrodosing cannabis, and my productivity was not as high. That one didn't work out. Anyways, these are the ones that I have worked with over the years, and a few of them have really stood out as being the most effective. And I'm going to share that with you now. But first, let me tell you the number one most effective nootropic, the number one most important cognitive enhancer is ultimately lifestyle choices. We're talking sleep, diet, content, consumption in general, which includes food, but also media, basically meditation, and exercise. If you don't have good movement hygiene, sleep hygiene, content hygiene, mental, psychological hygiene, and sleep hygiene, then all of these things are just going to be making up for, all of these things are going to be attempting, all of these supplements, these nootropics, these cognitive enhancers are just going to try to make up for a lack in your life that it'll make it so that none of them will be really super effective. Now, mind you, and I get it, maybe we're reaching to these substances to try to make up for the fact that we can't get enough sleep, or we're not able to move, or whatever it is. And, fair play. But if you're going to look at what's the most effective cognitive enhancer, it's really a healthy lifestyle. Now, the ones that have worked absolute best for me, they've gone through phases. I had a time with modafinil, which was really good, but at some point I had this reaction where I mixed some cacao with it, and I had extreme rage, physiological rage that lasted for over an hour, even though I was calm. It scared the hell out of me, so I haven't really gone back because I've sampled it since then. But anyways, modafinil had really worked for me for a while. I was using the Nexus stack from Jesse Lawler. That one was working absolutely great, but then they basically they basically stopped making the product, so I don't have any more of that. And different times have called for different things, you know, like if I need to pack up my entire house, which I'm going to need to do at some point because I'm moving, you know, over the course of a couple days, well, then I'm really glad for my methylphenidate and Adderall prescriptions, because that allows me to do those things and be very, very focused to get them done. But, you know, aren't very functional for me during the rest of my life because they make me too robotic, too agitated, too high strung, and cause me to, especially Adderall, I just don't sleep, like, at all. Like, I lie down and it appears as though I might be sleeping, but I'm not. And the herbs that I worked with previously were really helpful. Like when I was using Bacopa every day, that was excellent. The mixture of Schizandra and rosemary's, those have been really excellent. But if I were to say, hands down, what is the best nootropic stacks that have worked for me? Number one is actually yerba mate in a gourd with the bombilla, pretty high dose, all day long, very little food. I am sharp as a tack most of the time. That is incredible. So essentially intermittent fasting plus yerba mate. Wow. Second to that is the Paul Stamets protocol, the blend of lion's mane, niacin, and psilocybin mushrooms. That has been, like, that's the number one. We'll put that on the apex, not just because it gave me these cognitive benefits. The cognitive benefits were there, absolutely, but they weren't as, say, strong or diverse as this next set that I'll talk about. But the whole life benefit, like, everything about my life got better when I was working with the Stamets protocol, and has continued to be better as a consequence of the changes that I went through during that time. And so that one is amazing. I got a video for that. I'll put a little YouTube card up here for you to check it out. And then finally, the ones that have worked best for me that have been really engaging on the cognitive end, creativity, focus, impulse control, basically everything I wanted out of a nootropic, has actually been the Racetams family. The Racetams are pretty much, like, they fall into the category of that sort of 6 dimensions of what states strictly a nootropic. And the one that worked best for me was aniracetam. Now, previously, I didn't continue with them because I had a hard time stacking them with the choline sources in an effective way, and the easiest way for me to get them was in, you know, bags from a research chemical company, and then try to encapsulate them, and that all felt like, it really just felt like too much work. You know, I want to get up in the morning, I want to take my supplements, I want to get to work. I don't want to think too much about dosing and weighing and blah, 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 blah. That's why I really like the Nexus stack, actually, which is now no longer available. But recently I got involved with another company called Formula. In fact, they are the people that stimulated me to basically create this video. They offered me some product and said, hey, can you do a review of it? I said, yeah, but you know, it's going to be an honest review, so if it sucks, I'm going to tell people about it. But it turns out it didn't suck. It's a cool company. And they send you, you know, you sign up, they send you 4 different stacks, all that include Racetams, and then you try them, and then whichever ones work for you, and you can then double down on it. I tried all 4 varieties. 2 of them were all right, whatever. The 2 that really worked for me were focus and creativity, which focus is the one you saw me taking at the beginning of the video. And so they're good enough that I've actually decided to work with them as a sponsor. If you use the promo code, there's a link down below if you want to buy some of these products. There's a link down below. Promo code is Jesso, my last name. You get 20% off your first order, and you'll see them sponsored on some of the upcoming basically podcasts. So that said, you know, I think this company's great, and I like their blend. It's working super well for me, and it's convenient. And it's cool that I had this variety and everything's all personalized, like handwritten letters, thanks James, and blah, blah, blah. I mean, that's pretty cool. But you could just buy these, you could buy the Racetams and the choline sources and stuff online separately if you want, and do the whole stacking protocol yourself. Again, aniracetam is the one that's worked best for me. I like this company because it's really convenient for me. The doses are all measured out and ready. and they work. So one last thing that I think is really important to consider here is, why are you choosing to use nootropics? There's a lot of different reasons, and one sort of complex of reasons is the one that I would invite you to really determine whether or not this is the case, which is, are you attempting to utilize substances to amplify your cognitive abilities so you can prove something to yourself as a compensation or a defense from a childhood or like a childhood traumatic wounding? Like, is there something inside of you that says, I'm not good enough, I'm not worthy, I'm insignificant, or whatever it is, and that you're questing to utilize these things outside of you to try to fill that hole by proving yourself as worthy? There can be some merit in setting challenges and goals for yourself and achieving them and feeling that sense of accomplishment and even pride, healthy pride. And at the same time, if you're constantly reaching outside of yourself to try to fill a void inside of yourself that you're not looking at, like if you're not choosing to say, like, I'm attempting to do this because I feel worthless, and maybe if I become smarter, own a business, like sleep with that woman, then I can prove to myself that I'm not insignificant and I'm not worthless and yada yada. This is an empty hole. And like, as in the sense, let me rephrase this. This is an empty path. Those outside things will never fulfill that for you. And you'll just funnel hundreds of dollars and probably hurt people and yourself along the way trying to basically make up for something that is lacking inside of yourself. And if that's the case, I highly recommend you just start doing the deep inner work and worry less about what kind of substances can make you smarter, and take more time to consider, who am I now, why am I the way that I am, and how can I nourish myself in a way that allows me to step beyond these old traumatic and wounding imprints, these wounded defensive identity constructs, into a more authentic version of myself. And at that point, when you reach towards the nootropics or whatever it is, you're doing so as a way to amplify the authentic exuberance that you already have, and to better encourage your capacity to do what it is that you're here in this world to do, whatever that is, to bring sanity to the world, the approximate shape of you, which is approximately exactly what it needs. So if that's the case and you feel that's there, or you're wondering about that, my podcast has a lot of different episodes on this kind of stuff. I highly recommend a recent one with Bruce Sanguine, episode 98. Other episodes I will link in the description below that are all relevant to those themes and things to think about for yourself. Alternatively, if you just want to jump on the Nootropics bandwagon and you just want to take my advice and try out this formula company, links below. Jesso is the promo code to get 20% off your first order. And yeah, that's it. Thank you for watching this video. Thank you for subscribing and for checking out the podcast Adventures Through the Mind. If you want to support the show, Patreon is the primary financial means that the show is made. Additionally, you could head to the shop, jameswjesso.com/shop, get a shirt like the one I'm wearing, or some art, blotter art, some limited edition G-Clay prints, ebooks, etc. So you can head over there. Either way, thank you very much for tuning in, and see you soon.